Well, I think it's about time for another layout update video thing, whatever. And as you can see, I got another indicator light working. I have the other one for that other block in. Had to rewire the whole layout to get that light to work right. I've mentioned in my other videos that I was having problems with 1225 running through some of my track, my big burp. I've since fixed those problems, and it's been running for about 20 minutes without incident. Main problem was this section of track right here, this curve. It liked to jump track in there. But it since has been fixed. Now this is one of the original indicators you saw in my other video, my first one. I did put isolated rail trainers in there, that was one of the problems I was having. Got the other indicator light right there. And look, moves in the way, but it is on. And you can still see my switch indicator, position indicator there. Track 2, I really haven't done anything on track 2, I've been doing all the wiring on track 1. I did clean up a lot, get a better idea of what my track will look like. See the yard switch, yard lead I guess you call it. That switch is not, I'm not 100% on that switch. Tools over there. I'm using track 2 right now, what is partially in. It still needs to be, have all the road bed put in. But what I have in so far as just equipment storage, putting all my cars in there. The track's not powered, so the only way I can get anything in or out of there is if, as long as I don't pass this point here. Isolating the gaps for block detection. Even though it is DCC, I could have all the track, all that, but block detection, I want that separate, so that way when a train is here, it's not tripping the signals for this track. Those two signals are on, you should see the other one there. Now, one of the things I've done that I'm kind of fearful of, but I'm going to leave them in, are these two nails here. And there's also, let's see why they're here, first level, right here. They hold in my cab. Now it is pretty close to the track, but whatever. But here's an interesting thing. If you notice, I got 1225 dialed up, and its speed is 0. If we hit the recall button, you notice that I have 3507, which is like when it's not even on the track, dialed up. Here I recall again, it's back to 1225. You're wondering how I'm doing that. Well, that's the magic of this gray wire right here, which is still connected to this. We'll get into this in a minute. But that gray wire comes up over here, goes up, and around, down behind my time saver, over behind there, and right here. And there is 1225 on the computer being run. Now I'm using the NCE USB interface, which essentially turns my computer into another cab. I can run trains from here, from my computer. I cannot control trains from here. I can control track, I can control switches. In more complicated systems, like at Chi-Town, we have the computer operate trains, and it can stop them in that. The NCE USB interface does not allow reading of indicator signals or anything like that. So if I were to wire up these indicators to Logix to be operated by the computer, I would have to buy I wouldn't be able to use that USB interface. I would have to get a command station and use a serial port. If you are thinking, you know, then give you a little tip here, a little plug in NCE. I love NCE. I know I'm just looking at the track while I'm talking, but NCE has the powerhouse, I believe it's called, which has a serial cable plug which plugs into the serial cable on the back of the computer. I heard from somebody, not going to mention names or anything, that they are, the guy who works for NCE, that they are coming out with another booster, as they're called, that has a USB out on it. It plugs into a regular USB port. Okay. The past couple days I've had to rewire my track. What I had problems was, when trains would be in block 1, where 1225 is at now, they would activate block 1's signals. Everything's good. They'd go into block 2, right here, which is from here to the bridge. Everything would be just fine. The problem I was having is when trains would leave block 1 here, going around into block 3, which I don't have the detector on, but I have its own independent track power going to it from the feeder wires. The light for block 2 would stay on until you hit block 1 again. And after doing some wiring work, I found what the problem was. It wasn't really cross wire. The way I had the wiring set up, I had to change. And we'll get a little bit into my wiring now, which is a freaking nightmare. And I've tried to clean it up a bit. You notice I have these 4 metal screws here. Those help organize some of the wires. These 2 here are my track power. Red and black are my track power. Green and blue are my block detector power. They power up the block detectors. And you're also noticing a yellow and a white wire. The yellow wire and the white wire control those. They control the little lights. If I were to unhook this wire, those lights would stop working. The detector would keep working though. And if you want to know how the detector works, this right here is track power going through this loop here. It's coiled through once. I could coil it through additionally to give me even more sensitivity, but already it's sensitive enough that I could put my hand on the track and trip it. I could reduce the sensitivity by only putting the wire through, not coiling it, but I coil it through anyways just because I kind of like messing with people and putting my hand on the track. See if you watch. Well, train's coming. I'm not going to worry about it. Messing with people and put my hand on the track in front of them. But, and then you can see down here pretty much the same thing. You can see feeder wires, actually no, yeah, feeder wires right here. Everything is color coded. A couple little pro tips I'm going to give you. And even though I'm not a pro, I'm still going to give you. Take notes. This is something, I'm going to tell you something the pro didn't tell you. Take notes. Red and black track power, yellow and white signal lights, green and blue block detector power. Take notes like that, because those are gonna save your butt. Gonna help other people understand how your layout's working too. Another thing that's changed, this switch here now controls the power for the signals. So I can throw the switch and turn the signals on and off. So if I have to do any work on them, instead of unplugging their power supply, I can just throw this switch. I can just throw this switch. This switch is now my track power. It's a 3-position switch. The middle is off. Position 10 now powers the entire layout. And I haven't got it wired up yet, but when I throw it to the other side, it'll power up just my programming track. Which my programming track is going to be just that siding right there. It'll power up the siding, and since the siding, the switch machine over there, the switch it, and the little house are powered off of the same track power line that feeds that. The house, the switch it, and that track will be programmed. Will be powered when I have that switch thrown. But that switch will only be thrown so if I need to do something like program a new locomotive, it's going to go on that track and get programmed before it goes anywhere else. And so I don't have to take all my locomotives off. I throw that switch, that track right there is electrically isolated from everything else. Throw the switch, only that one's on, none of my other locomotives get messed up. So that's my plan. That's it for now. Another little tip. Keep your layout clean when you're working on it. I just cleaned up a whole bunch of junk and found some of my tools. Been looking for my track gauge. My NMRA, I don't know how to mispronounce that, whatever. Track gauge was buried underneath a pile of track. But yeah, also I found a couple isolated rail joiners that I'd lost. And about a dozen other rail joiners I dropped. But yeah, that's about it for now. Oh, and if you can find it, rail zip. Stuff's amazing. One last shot of this 1225 coming through here. Come through the house, because this is a pretty cool spot. Yeah, it gets pretty close to that hand car. I know, I'll fix it one day. Alright, till next time.